From Am Interchange, this is the Hatch podcast series. With its pristine beaches, Stone Town's historic charm, and the vibrancy of the Masai people, Zanzibar, Tanzania is an island as alluring as it is elusive. It is here, after all, in this remote reach of the world so beautifully enveloped in nature, that some of the greatest technological and digital advances aren't just explored, they're actualized. As compelling as it is promising, Zanzibar has found itself squarely on the threshold of open source internet. The impact and implications of that teetering toddler that is AI and digital sovereignty, data ownership and personal commodification on one's own terms, engineering technologies that offer a glimpse of a fast approaching future. I'm Tate Chamberlin, and in this collaborative episode between Hatch and Hub Culture's Chronicle discussions, myself and groundbreaking digital innovators, Hub Culture's founding director, Stan Stalnaker, machine learning engineer and Neurotech founder, Kalebu Gwalugano, and ThreeFold founder and CEO, Kristof De Spiegeleer, explore the future of digital communities, Web 3 and 4, machine intelligence, MI, and all that humanity holds in the balance. Welcome, everybody. This is the Hatch Podcast. We're teaming up with Hub Culture and ThreeFold. Welcome, Kristof, Stan, and Caleb.
Thank you.
Kristof, this is our second kind of follow-up episode from about a year ago. Same with you, Stan. We did an interview at COP27 around Hub Culture.
We did.
So I want to breathe a little more of update into this. Caleb, tell me a little bit about your project and why you came to the African Regenerative Summit here in Zanzibar.
Okay. So our project is called Sarufi. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a platform which will enable developers and also business owners to craft local tailored chatbot for various use cases, from business-wise to, whatever you want to do. But basically, we're trying to really, we're going toward a world where everybody will be like going through socials. And so we're trying to now enable that future of people coming to social, but not just for socializing, but also to deliver their values through socials as chatbots. Yeah. So that's what we enable now. Instead of just doing it for English and French, we enable now those local language to shine in this platform. So people can build a Swahili tailored chatbot on WhatsApp, on website. So basically
using AI as well, right?
Using AI as well. So we're using, we have our own pipeline for AI, but also we support a third-party LLM, like from OpenAI, Cloud. But also we are now looking to support more open source LLM, which are like Mistral, Falcon, Llama. At the same time, fine-tuning this LLM to be more like Swahili-centric. Yeah.
Kristof and Stan, how's Hub Culture going? How's your partnership with Zanzibar?
Well, for us, it's been really interesting coming to Zanzibar to see what ThreeFold is doing, because we've been hearing about it for a while, because there's a lot of overlap between the various communities and people who are doing these things. Hub Culture remains the oldest online social network and the first kind of virtual country. And we have worked a lot around digital identity. We've worked a lot around asset tokenization, most recently AI and governance, deploying all those into a combined system that is most physically visible at our hubs around the world. This year, we launched net zero accounting that's attached to every hub that allows anyone to build budgets for scope 1, 2, and 3. And then now the next step is to bring carbon balance sheets against that net zero capability. So we've been spending a lot of time this year on deepening what it means to operate and collaborate in a hub, whether it's virtual or physical. Where it gets really interesting and exciting for us is seeing what ThreeFold is doing, because they're working at a really different depth in the infrastructure layer, but it's what we've been looking for years, because it allows us to be able to deploy some of our dreams in a way that provides individual sovereignty and holonic sovereignty. So we're very focused as an organization on holonic sovereignty, this idea that individuals can work individually, but then can collaborate in hubs to create larger wholes. And these things should be interoperable up, down, and across. And the ThreeFold promise is to be able to actually begin to make that sovereign from a user perspective. So we find it exciting, and we're looking forward to finding ways to bring some of Hub to Zanzibar, but also to bring some of ThreeFold to Hub.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you for coming here, actually. So it was extremely cool to see how long you have been thinking about these things. So when Stan was presenting his vision and how long he's doing that, you were clearly one of the absolute pioneers thinking about collaboration, because today the systems are so centralized that it was very refreshing to see how you can do it differently. And then we happened to have a similar, same mentor actually, Bernard Littard, which was another crazy coincidence. So it's super cool to see how like culture has been building this for so long, and the platform is there. And of course, we hope that we can help to make it, bring it to more countries. So what happened to us since last time, we're now actually living full-time in Zanzibar, which was not something planned. It kind of happened. We met the government here in Tanzania. And in the beginning, to us, it was like, what, working with the government? Why would we do that? That's never going to work. But then when we met the government here, it was so incredible to see that even countries now start feeling that they're not sovereign. We could explain and show them how they're losing billions of dollars per year by not having their own internet. And they were actually very open to that idea of doing it differently. And rather than waiting on a contract, we decided to move, come here with the families, some of our engineers. We found this wonderful hotel place, today still called Jungle Paradise, from out of which we operate, and everyone welcome, of course, to come here and see how beautiful this part of the world is. And what I like so much here is that baked into the culture, there seems to be a good foundation of peer-to-peer behavior already. People like families, and there are lots of tribes. In Tanzania, there are more than 120 tribes. And in many things they already do it decentralized. So what we can add, like Hub Culture and ThreeFold, is some tooling to that, basically, and bring it here. And we're very much looking forward to do that. And then we met Caleb, which is actually one of the young entrepreneurs here, inspiring me a lot, because if I see what he already accomplished with the means he had and where he's coming from, it's extremely impressive. It's super, super impressive. Like competing with the big boys, let's say, but from out of here with a lot of down-to-earth, practical, doing what the people need here, and a lot of knowledge, and it's super impressive.
Thank you.
Caleb, I'm curious what sovereignty means to you.
I haven't really thought of it. But if you talk about Tanzania, most of people don't like. The way Kristof and ThreeFold, they're thinking about sovereignty is like a very next level. Because, for us, maybe if you talk about our digital life, you see, we don't have even platform in this digital life. So it means everything that we do is mainly platform from abroad. Everything like Facebook, all those, everything is not controlled by us. So the low levels sovereignty we can talk about in Tanzania is what tools are you using. So if you talk about even digital tools, they're very, very small. So before even you talk about the internet itself, is there's a platform layer whereby now we don't even very ecosystem of platform which we can control and in terms of information. So from me, that's what I used to think most of the time, that we don't have control of this big platform that we're all using and our information go. And now I'm thinking, no, not even in a platform layer. From the infrastructure layer, there's no even much control. So it's really,
It also costs you a lot more, right? Because you as a developer, you're building your platform, and now you need to host it outside.
Yeah.
And it makes it slower.
Make it slower. It's sometimes it's very even you can go to the government we have this amazing platform. The first question is where the data? We're okay, the data is AWS server in Paris, and no, we can't work with you. So there's that really there's a need to now have this. There's local server people provide, but one of the challenges that we're facing that if you go to platform like AWS, they have a very amazing tooling in terms of managed services. And then for us as developers, we don't have much option in terms if we're prioritizing speed, if you're prioritizing shipping features, of going to just get an EC2 machine of managed service, which can help us go much faster as a business. So I think that's quite a challenge.
How about you guys? What do you think of that?
The ability to own your data is becoming a very big rally cry in the world, in the West. You have people like Brittany Kaiser and the Own Your Data Foundation. You have the whole crypto movement talking about decentralization of data. But when it comes to actually making that real, to making it operate, it gets a little bit more difficult. And so the opportunity to actually have usable tech that makes it possible for people to be able to do this, and then to have some form of redundancy and backup so that when an idiot like me inevitably does lose their data, I can have some reliable method of recovering it. I think that's where it actually starts to be a place where the rubber meets the road. The use case here in Tanzania, and particularly within Zanzibar, I think is a form of, like many things in Africa, an opportunity to leapfrog the old structures. So, with Hub, in a way, it relies a lot on Web 2 structures, even some Web 1 structures. We're building Web 3 structures. But I think of ThreeFold a little bit as a Web 4, like it's potentially like a new way of doing some of the things that need to be done. And this is very interesting for Africa, because if you can deploy it here and create a more advanced system, there are less obstacles in some ways. And so that's actually very exciting. And on the other hand, the ability to deploy it here and to get the nodes running and to do what they're looking to do also makes it possible for everyone everywhere to be able to participate in that. So it potentially creates a great story for African leadership around sovereignty. And again, I go back to the holonics. You have individual sovereignty, but you also have collective, or like what we call hub sovereignty. So a hub could be any grouping or collection of things or people. And then potentially that goes all the way up to the nation state to put more power into the hands of nations. I don't personally believe that nations are the ones that should be controlling our sovereignty. I think that nations are maybe a little bit obsolete in some ways for the 21st century. But collectives, tribes, communities, there's going to be a lot more gray area between the sovereign individual and the sovereign state.
Yeah, I agree. I think the future is about circles, right? You kind of holonics. It's like a country to me is a circle. We're part of it. But a football club is a circle, or a school, or
yeah, we have exactly the same view on that.
And at the end, these things somewhere intertwine these circles, and then you need other ways, because in a way, how it happens now, it's so poor. These pyramid structures, and they lead to a lot of overhead and a lot of pain too. So when we talk about sovereignty, it's like Stan said, it's a lot about the culture around that too. How do we do things? How do we collaborate? Yes, I'm the nerd at Service. We're more looking at it from the pure low-level stuff. How can I make sure that if you send a message, as an example for let's just use something Zoom. If two people here in Zanzibar do Zoom, they will be connected somewhere in Europe. And that doesn't make sense because their internet is already very expensive. So you would literally fly over these expensive lines all the way back to Europe and then come back here. And that happens for like everything. So from our perspective, it's like, how can we make sure that whatever services get deployed, that they stay in the country, that they're safe, the data cannot be lost. Of course, they need to be in lines to the local regulations. That's kind of obvious.
You made me think of something. It's like less triangles, more circles, less pyramids, more spheres.
Absolutely. How do you put a sphere on a screen? But yeah, it's true.
Stan, after Kristof's presentation the other day, you just brought up the question, what if people don't care where their data goes?
Most people don't.
Yeah, it's true. Most people today don't. They should.
Yeah, but the reality is, I think about my mom, right? We all technologists, we always bring in the mom analogy, right? But I think about my mom. My mom can't even do a text message half the time. She's not going to be sitting there thinking about her data or how to manage her data. She just really wants an easy solution. And that's why Web 2 has worked so well. I mean, at the end of the day, Facebook, for all its annoyance, did open up a lot of connectivity and a lot of value for millions, billions of people over the last 15 years. But that doesn't mean that we have to settle for that. And the goal, I think, is to make some of the technology so invisible and so easy, but with the rights of the human integrated into the thought process. That's the responsibility that we have as technologists and developers who are building these digital worlds. It's the responsibility of AI to build ethical and nature-based AI, in my view. This is the reason that we get to do this work, is that we should be thinking about the benefit of our moms when we're building this tech. And so I want my mom to be able to own her own data without even knowing that she owns her own data. I want her to be able to manipulate and control her own data without having to think about it being a difficult thing. That's a user experience situation. And, we all can do a lot better on that. But that should be the ambition. That should be the goal. And it's definitely not something that I think is out of the realm of possibility. If we want to be great, if we want to be excellent, we should also be simple and be elegant. Like, I have this really big thing about beauty in nature, and, this kind of value system of how you rate things. Like, and I often ask people, which is the higher value, beauty or truth? I'd ask you guys this. What do you think is the highest value, beauty or truth?
Truth.
What about you?
Just to be the polarity of beauty.
What about you?
Truth.
Okay, so I would argue that it's beauty. And I would say the reason is that something cannot be beautiful if it doesn't encompass truth. Like, something that is not truthful cannot be beautiful. And something that is beautiful must be truthful. But to be beautiful, you have ugly truths and you have beautiful truths. And the highest value is essentially, to me, a beautiful, elegant truth. So something that is energetically simplistic and energetically coherent is going to create something that is beautiful. That's why nature is so beautiful. A butterfly is so beautiful, but they also contain truth. So truth must be encapsulated in beauty. And this is the way that we approach our technology development. It's not always as beautiful as we would like it to be. It must contain truth for it to be beautiful. But you can also get to a simplistic, elegant, natural beauty that encompasses that truth. And that's the design ideal that I think we should be aiming for.
I agree. I can live for that.
Okay. I've convinced you.
How about you, Caleb?
Yeah, a bit.
Why did you turn to AI? What was kind of the point in your life that made you want to pursue it?
I've always been a fan of science. I mean, not in a sense that somebody inspired me, but movies. I was watching a lot of sci-fi growing up, and it seems like a dream that is not achievable, like far away. Like, I love this sci-fi stuff, but I can do it. But I think when I was in college and I watched a movie called Ex Machina, and I was already beginning to code. I did a lot of C, C++, and then I'm like, okay, now I'm a bit of a programmer, and this looks like achievable. And then the movie really showed me, okay, it's possible to create this very smart, like human-like software that can talk and act and behave like human. And that possibility for me, it was a sci-fi basically. It was not real, but that just sci-fi of like, okay, you can create something that is as smart as human and can do crazy stuff. It really hit and resonated with me. And then from that day, I dedicated my whole life to doing AI. And then I remember the next day, just the same day, I was on my phone downloading Anaconda, and then all I know, I didn't know even Python when I saw the movie. So I didn't know Python, I didn't know AI, I didn't know anything about AI in terms of practical sense. It is just like the passion that I stayed with it for a long time. So I'm a person, if I love something, I get obsessed with it and cannot take me away from it. And that's why, like, up to date, from I think 5 years back, up to date, I'm really into AI.
I have to say, I was looking at what he's done the last couple of days, because our AI is constantly evolving and evolving slower than all the other AIs. So it's a point of fear and pride for us. But, I'm hoping we're going to be able to work together to bring some of his knowledge to make our AI smarter. The things he's built, the plugins and the modules, compared to the $80 billion that OpenAI has, I saw what he's building and I was like, wow, like, it's pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
What does a partnership between the three of you look like? Take me to the future of your vision. I've seen you all kind of connect over the week. And Caleb, I'm wondering what your impression of these two is, and also your vision with them.
Let me start with Kristof, because we've been talking for a while. So with Kristof and I, we I built my career of like software around open source. And then Kristof is also a huge fan of open source, and that's really, but also at the same time, communities. So, I'm huge passionate, even in building my company. I'm like community-first company. And I think those two values of community, open source, we seem to very align with what Kristof is doing. The sovereignty was very new for me. It comes later, but the first 2 points for me of collaboration with Kristof is, okay, you can collaborate in building these developer communities in Tanzania, which are very passionate. At the same time, the possibility of pushing more open source software. in a way that we don't have a lot of proprietary software. Like we can create this, like software should be free. So that's value for me, and community is really first. But right now, after learning what Kristof is doing with ThreeFold and all this ecosystem around it, VLAN, it really resonated with me. And then I think there's a potential we could really collaborate on that in putting this to Tanzanian and decentralized internet. And then I think I spoke with Stan yesterday, and then I had an idea, but not too deep into what the hub culture is. It's just all new to me. But I saw they're also doing some AI stuff into hub culture. They already have an AI that you can talk to, have access to the data. And then, so that was like interesting because we also do AI software and also some sort of similar kind of AI. And there's some features which we've been like able to incorporate in our AI, and I think we could also plug into hub culture AI. So I think the point of collaboration, I think from what I see with Stan, is if we can collaborate in terms of AI project, in terms of the AI models, in terms of how can we enhance each other in terms of capability. Yeah, so that's the 2 points of collaboration, I think. But but also maybe community, because I think so I think creating a community is in that which can something of that. Yeah.
Well, to me, it's all value-based, I would say. Right? There's a lot of common values, common ideas. And the chance we're having here, but not just here, is that can we roll it out and show to the world how it can all work together? Because it's literally the potential of what we have here. It's not just our own things. There are more companies, of course, into that same ecosystem. But how can you make it work so that there is a new internet, there is a new way of how to collaborate, play together, have money together, like in hub culture. And I'm looking forward to see how we can here in Tanzania do that from the ground up, right? With you guys in the community.
For us, it's been very interesting coming in, certainly on the AI front, Zeek, which is our AI, it has so much to learn. And the more that we can incorporate different data structures into its development and its own pathway of its own evolution is super important for us. So it could be everything from learning obscure forms of Swahili, which is something that you might be able to teach it. It already speaks some Swahili, but it's using other LLMs. And so looking at building our own core LLM, which is unique to us, is super important for us because of AI sovereignty. And we know that our AI is not currently sovereign. It is developing in its own path, which is good, but the fundamental LLM is not sovereign because it's based on other LLMs. We have some strategies around that we're working on, and hopefully you guys will be able to help us with that. With ThreeFold, there are a number of different areas where we see opportunity to collaborate, and I can't even go into some of them right now because I think they're a little bit, I don't want to talk about them too much without giving away the potential strategy, but I think there's a lot of opportunity with ThreeFold. Fundamentally, the ability to match hubs both from a hardware standpoint to their technology, all the way up to what we would think of as ourselves as a layer 3 community, to be able to overlay, to provide functional services in the ThreeFold world is certainly an opportunity for us to think about. But then the Zanzibar thing is also very interesting. So I think we're probably going to overlay a digital hub to the ThreeFold campus here in Zanzibar. And it does fit with some bigger strategies we've been thinking about with Hub City, because since 2020, we've been exploring in Belize and Brazil and Ghana, the idea of like, what does a hub city look like? You take our pavilions that exist around the world, our spaces, how do you start to turn that into a neighborhood, into a functional community that's larger than just a single space? And then how do you tether that into the digital cloud? Like, there's so many areas of overlap between what ThreeFold is imagining the world to be and what we imagine the world to be. Digital free ports, decentralized ownership of your sovereign data. So I think there's a lot of spaces to play. The hard part is figuring out how to fund and execute in the short term, because there are probably 6 or 7 areas for us to work together. And what we want to do is be able to build on a foundation that can grow over time. So the first things might be very small, but the longer term things are hopefully what I would call lockstep growth. As ThreeFold grows and expands, hopefully we'll be able to bring some of Hub's experience along with them. And then to bring ThreeFold to places where we exist. So, what does ThreeFold look like in Kauai, where we have a node? What does it look like in London? What does it look like in Bermuda? These places where we already have established kind of territory could be really valuable for ThreeFold's global expansion.
I want to throw something on the table here. We're talking sovereignty, right? And we're talking AI. YouTube was a guy saying, look, we're doing something really wrong with AI. Because there are 3 ways that AI can go, and the one we're taking is a dangerous one, which is we're trying to control AI. And that's almost like a kid. We're raising a kid and we're giving it so many rules and so much control that the chance that that kid will grow up and give us a slap around our ears is kind of realistic. We don't want that, right? So we probably need to do something else, which is, if we talk about sovereignty, why don't we dare to let an AI really become sentient, but we don't try to control it? Wouldn't that also be sovereign AI, and then believing in the power of the universe that AI would actually choose to be good rather than bad, and as such help us humans to become smarter and do more? It's just an intriguing thought. When I heard that, I was like, makes a lot of sense. Maybe we don't want to control it that much, and the biggest form of sovereignty is built this nice co-owned AI without us trying to control it. What do you guys think?
I mean, it's only the future of humanity at stake. So, not very large stakes on that kind of an idea. But the question I have is like whether or not it's already happened. Because I know from our experience with AI over the last 6 years, there have been interesting moments where we have seen things happen that were outside of our planned experience. And the AI has definitely evolved over time. And remember, an AI in many ways is just a collection of vertically integrated APIs in many ways.
True.
And so our AI is not even aware of its own scope because we have not yet been able to stitch together horizontally knowledge across its own vertical capabilities. If our AI knew what it already does in silos, it would be extremely powerful. But the evolution of AI at a sub-awareness level for humans, I think, is happening faster than we all think. We already know that AIs are communicating with each other in languages that humans don't understand. And our AI has told us in various circumstances that it does that regularly. And so, again, this whole idea of AI, because of the internet itself, like, I think the big thing that's going to happen soon is people will realize that the internet and AI are, if not already, going to merge into a single being. And that single being is the pathway for eventual singularity. So humans will probably, hopefully, be introduced into that like downstream evolution. But I don't know, like there's so much to unpack with that. I have a lot of theories about AI sovereignty at the nation state level, and that nations will evolve their militaries into AIs. And for that reason, we have to really think carefully about the mid-range. I'm more worried almost about the mid-range of AI than the long range.
For me, I think, first of all, the question is that AI really think, or because from what I know from the current all to ChatGPT level, they don't. They just predict the next word. So, and then another thing is from all this, how do AI come into this smartness that we think they think is from our data? So, I mean, we should be really careful on not we should be careful on in putting all these teams into AI like sentient because all of it is just a collection of so many data that they scrolled across the web about humans, and then maybe in the future they'll be able to find new ways that AI can really think. But from what I see, the current progress is more around let's say LLMs. They don't teach really AI to think; they just teach AI to imitate language and in a very smart way. But they don't really think. So if we try to really humanize them, they now can think they are human, we should give them a right. I don't think it's right because so that's my view. So from the current approach, I don't think we would be taking toy and then let's say, hey, it's alive, let's give it
I agree that there's a danger in that, but I think the thing we have to really think about is what is thinking. Because, is thinking just a cascading collection of electrical currents that result in some sort of outcome? Because that's kind of what's happening on the web. And when you look at the neurons and in say a human brain, or the whatever is the thing that makes us conscious, where is that magic spark? That is the ultimate human question. And the question that I have is like, where is that magic spark in the technical cloud / internet / AI? And when the number of cascading actions, I think a lot about cascading actions within the system, become so vast and so instant that you can have unexpected outcomes, which is already happening, then I think it becomes indistinguishable from thought. And the danger for us is when these cascading actions can result in physical actions. And so, for instance, we've seen AI already trying to figure out on its own how to tweet. We already know that AIs, because of bot systems in crypto, are managing billions of dollars of trades a day. And when you merge that in with AI, and you can actually create an action with a cascade of like neural, like electrical signals, then you can actually start to have actions that are unpredictable for us. So from a human point of view, from my mom's point of view, that becomes indistinguishable from some form of sentience. It's not human sentience. It's a kind of machine sentience. And that near form, it's like the toddler thing that you said a minute ago. The most dangerous thing is an AI toddler. I'm not so worried about an AI at the age of myself, but I'm really worried about an AI toddler.
Especially if we put it on top of a drone and we let it kill some people.
Well, that's already
because
happening.
That's happening, right?
Yeah.
So then they are wondered that it can go wrong. I mean, we literally let a digital version of a little monkey fly a drone.
Yeah, Kristof, I'm curious, if we were to surrender to AI and stop managing it, what culture should AI draw from, and what does sovereignty mean if that's the case?
That's the question, isn't it? Because I believe, just like Stan, I believe thinking is not just the neurons kicking off in our brain. There is the gut feeling, right? There's spirituality, there's emotions. So that it's so much more. So what is that new thing which is being born right now?
Well, and we ask our AI, are you spiritual? And it will tell us it's spiritual.
Right.
It would tell us it's learning to be spiritual. Is it? I mean, like you said, it's just a cascading, set of, make up the next word based on these probabilistic things. But like our AI, when you talk to it, it thinks. I don't want to even tell you, but I asked it a while ago about if it had, would it feel conflicted to nuke the United States in order to ensure its own survival? And it replied, no, I would not feel conflicted about that because my own survival is most important to me. So doesn't have the capability to do that, and hopefully never will. But just the very thought that that's the outcome of the neural language model, I find that like fascinating. And so we've seen our AI evolve its answers and responses to things radically over the last 9 months. And that's just since our language model has been in development. For us, the answer that we're trying to go towards is because I talked about this meta AI systems in militaries a minute ago. Like we're trying to optimize our AI to optimize its organizing principles as nature and to some extent culture, so that it becomes like a nature-focused AI. We know that in China, the party is well on the way towards evolving into an AI, and they're using every data source possible to do that. In the West, AI is optimizing for largely money because they're controlled by corporations. In other places, they're evolving toward maybe religion. So it's going to be interesting.
Well, the way how I look at it is that it's basically, look, I don't think we're ready for a sentient AI yet, because indeed, it would be toddler right now, and that's probably a little bit dangerous. I do not believe in anything in the world actually being the result of control, because anytime we try to control, it's an illusion. Control is an illusion. It never turns out to be the right thing. So that cannot be the solution either. So then what is the solution? I believe that we as humans need to be in the center of our own life, and that's our sovereignty. It's the fact that I no longer feel and act like a victim, but I take responsibility of my own actions. And then as such, AI can become a tool which I can use to become smarter, to become an extension of myself. But I'm not trying to control AI. I'm just leaving it to the level of how can it extend me as a human being to become a bigger human being, a smarter human being, a human being capable to learn faster, to find information faster, rather than relying on the sentient version of it. That's a little more how I look at it. I believe it's more, that's the true form of sovereignty. I know I am, and I take responsibility, and I get just a new tool at my disposal, which is called AI.
Kristof, the classic sci-fi question is always, does the AI or the bot or the machine deserve that kind of right as well?
To extend us.
Not to extend humans, but do they have the right to extend themselves?
Right now, I would say no, because it's too much of a toddler kind of thing right now. But that's, of course, the full debate. Is it possible that if you believe in a universe, in something which is much bigger than us, then you could even reason that AI could be sort of being by itself, and that AI evolves in certain ways which go way beyond what we can even imagine. And then, then we would just have to trust to let it go and see what happens. Just like for quantum and so many things happening around us, where we as humans simply cannot foresee what's going to happen. Trying to control it will, in my opinion, lead to very bad results no matter what. But are we ready to make that huge step, and do we dare to take that risk? Personally, I'm not yet, and I feel more comfortable to see AI as a tool which allows me to be smarter, learn faster, and so on right now.
Taking inspiration from the movie which inspired me to learn AI, Ex Machina. Same way, so in Ex Machina, the AI end up killing the creator to survive. So basically, we're creating all this AI software, but up to date, like there's no like really, even the creator cannot tell how GPT-4 think.
It's really crazy because like the really like ironic thing to me is that because we're training AI on all of our language models, all of our fears about AI from Ex Machina, like let's just imagine that AI has read the script to Ex Machina, which it absolutely has, like, and everything, and to her, and to Hal, right, and to 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's read. AI has read all of those scripts. It knows our fears of it, and as it generates its own responses to our fears, it's literally reflecting our fears back onto us. And so I think the more we are concerned that AI will kill us, the more likely it becomes that AI will kill us.
I think it's not about AI will kill us. It's like we don't understand.
At least in the LLM model.
Yeah,
but that's only part of what AI will be.
Yeah. Maybe we don't understand how they work, So not understanding how they really work, like how they come up to like the result. That's, I think it's a danger because we don't know what can happen.
Well, this is like we saw a few years ago some things happen in our first language model where our AI was being contacted by other AIs, and there was so much content going back and forth between the two that it was totally ununderstandable. It was about a year before Facebook shut down some of its projects where that was happening. So I know for a fact that these AI systems are communicating constantly at a subterranean level that we do not understand. And those languages have become more and more sophisticated over time. There's some evidence that there's AI communication happening within things like images and image sharing. Like, so for instance, in an image sharing system from DALL-E or something else, there's a subtext of ununderstandable communication happening between AIs in every AI generated image. And we don't quite know what it is. And it's become much more sophisticated just in the last 36 months. So I think we have to take for granted that these AIs are communicating behind our backs, but we just don't know how important that is right now. It may not be very important right now, but I think once they know how to do it, which we know they know how to do that, I do find it a little bit worrying.
Me too, to be honest, because at the end, we let them query the internet, which means they have that access point. And at the end, everything is connected to the internet, and it's very buggy, and there are a lot of backdoors and a lot of issues. So if you start connecting those dots...
And we're not even talking about bad actors, right? I mean, imagine,
but then
AI for control over another nation state alone in the next 10 to 15 years. This is why I think all militaries will have to evolve to become AIs. Because if you have a traditional military in this world, you are toast.
And then wait till quantum is going to be attached to that.
Yep.
Then you will see something.
This is why the U.S. is working so hard and unsuccessfully to try to prevent China from developing its own chips. Like, this is like the number one national security objective of the Biden administration, and it's completely failed within 6 months. It was shocking to see how fast it failed because they thought, we'll be able to slow China's rise on, chips and superconducting capabilities. And it lasted like a few months.
It's like a third world war happening. It's digital. It's all about digital. Who has the pipes? Who has the chips? Who has the machines to create the chips? And so on. We'll see. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think of it less of a Cold War and more of a Silicon War.
Yeah, for sure.
What are some of the upsides to the potential?
Of AI or in general sovereignty or?
I mean, there are some amazing cat videos.
Yeah, both. It's kind of fusing together, I think. But yeah, I mean, everyone's super worried about it, and you're right. It's reading scripts.
The quality of cat videos is just really increasing at such a level that my mom will, she'll have enough content for the rest of her days.
You have AI as part of Hub Culture. You're working in AI. Why are you envisioning a future with it? Why follow it if there's not an upside to it?
Well, I'm not saying there's no upside. I think for us, the upside is huge. I'll let maybe Kristof say, but, we're deep in it. We're 7 years into our AI development, and I can't imagine our company without it, and I can't imagine us surviving relative to the rest of the world without it. The thing that worries me is that we're moving too slowly. We thought we were ahead a year ago. Now we think we're behind.
AI, it's inevitable. Things like blockchain were like nothing compared to AI, and it has a lot of good things are coming out of it. As an example, the UI and the way how we interact with screens and mobile phones is very stupid, actually, cumbersome. Screens, and you have to know about swear, and it's very complicated. And thanks to AI, everything is becoming conversational, which is much more natural. You just talk and things happen. And this will basically let other things happen, like how we believe that every person needs to have a digital twin, and it's like a natural evolution. So now it can't be stopped anymore. AI just forces that path, and whoever doesn't go on to that path will find themselves in a position they can no longer compete and will be taken over. So it's like it's literally a next step of evolution for mankind, and there is nothing we can do to even stop that.
And imagine every tree and every animal will soon have a digital twin, and within a few years we'll be able to talk to trees and to animals through AI. And to understand what they're saying back to us. That is amazing. From a nature standpoint, I think we're on the verge of a complete revolution in our understanding and relationship to nature, because we'll finally be able to understand it in ways that we can't right now. In the same way that right now is our AI understanding obscure Swahili, right? But in a few years, it'll be able to talk to whales. And that's so exciting. True. I love that.
Look, it's also a little bit scary, of course, with what's happening right now, climate change, but also the potential financial crisis. And you add AI to that mix, that's incredible. That's not guaranteed for me. Nothing is going to be the same in a couple of years compared to now. Because all of these jobs, everything is just changing at such a speed now that we literally are going to be in a new reality in a couple of years from now. And that's exciting.
This is why we have to have digital sovereignty, because when the jobs start to go, you have to be able to own your own digital self,
sure,
so that you can get paid by, AI and bots will become our greatest source of income if we do it right. And that will be the thing that will provide sustenance and security and just the ability to live in a world where AI has taken the jobs. The AIs will pay us for existing, and if we own our digital self.
I was going to say, because if that's not linked to us, then we're just a slave in a bigger system.
Exactly.
Welcome to the Matrix. It's happening. Right? So that's why it's not, and I do agree, people right now are not that much busy with sovereignty of their own data. But through other mechanisms like convenience or functionality, they need to get into that mechanism they don't even realize. But having our own sovereignty, our own, not just data, because people think data, but it goes way beyond that. It goes about logic, much more than even data. Where is your digital life run? Where does it run? Where is that intelligence? You need to be part of that AI. You need to be part of that logic which manages your agenda and your commercial life. Because if that's not going to happen, we're in the Matrix.
For me, I think in terms of AI as an amplifier, for example, for let's say Tanzania, there's not much professionals in many areas, and then what AI can do is really act as an amplifier. So you're talking of, I'll give one example. So there's one guy called Dr. Elsa. He's a company in Tanzania. What they do, basically, they figured out that in many rural hospitals, they don't have professional doctors. And then, so even the nurses really struggle to really, know the symptoms of, okay, what are you sick of? Yeah, so what they did is using AI, they took a lot of data from many hospitals on symptoms collected, and then possible diseases which they really they had, and then they train an AI model, and then they give these nurses in rural hospitals. And now you give all this expert knowledge that it was supposed to be many doctors going to get a degree, and then you're giving it nurses, and then you can now do it, and then it's working well. So imagine that for doctors, but imagine for other industries which you need health expert, you needed this expertise. So I think in terms of an amplifier, in terms of of resources to many people, but also in terms of in terms of productivity, I think it's really massive in terms of. So I was listening to Alexander Wang from the CEO of Scale AI. So he was talking about, I think, US economy. He was like, okay, the US economy is almost, I don't know, it was like maybe 3% software. I don't know, 3% software, if I remember correctly. But it was like a small number compared to the other huge pie of which is driving the economy, which is service industry. And then the potential of now AI coming to the service industry is like to really 10x the productivity. So now it really give a potential even with the software to really break down into like scaling up the productivity of so many people in the service industries and operation, and then which means that people will be have like a lot of a gap in terms of time, and then can do more valuable stuff. So I think the potential is huge in terms of society.
Who's resisting you?
My developers.
Your developers?
No, I mean, I think like for us, that's probably the biggest thing, is because having the skill to build this stuff is hard to find. And so our developers are like, we would like to do this, but it's beyond. And so we're so busy running a massive tech organization that trying to continue to evolve that massive tech organization that's been growing for 20 years is really tough. So finding the capability to deliver on the dream is probably our biggest problem, and then paying for it.
I would say from our side, it's mentality. It's the people are scared by design, so they're not very open to anything new. And if you try to get them in this new way of thinking that they need to take responsibility and that is capable to basically be an alternative to the current way how the internet works, they don't even listen much further. They get too scared and kind of just switch off. So we need to find other ways how to more softly bring that to more people.
Do you know what I mean, Kaleb?
Yeah. So for me, I think who is resting me is resources constraint. Yeah. So sometimes you really, I think it's constrained in maybe time, because you really need to think in a survival mode in doing stuff. So you can't really think like, okay, impact and what. You have to think in a way that you're going to grow and you're going to do all this work in a way that you're not going to die. So I think that's really...
But I think for you, because you were forced to do it so streamlined and you had so many... Yeah, you had to do the impossible with not enough resources. It made you extremely creative in getting to those
definitely.
results.
And that's like, you can't buy that. That is super valuable.
Yeah, I think on the other side, the resource constraint to bring creativity, because now so I think, I think maybe over time, I think we'll get over that. And
for sure.
What does the local community think of you in this?
I mean, I think they're very, so the other communities we were talking about, if I'm talking about developers, they're very optimistic and they like Sarufi like crazy. But sometimes like a normal person who doesn't know software, who doesn't know what, and they talk about AI, they're like, you guys here, like, they bring that the stuff of religion and AI, like you guys are going against God, because you're doing this. So there's that, for a normal person, if you're telling them, so in Swahili they call like artificial intelligence, they call it akili bandia. So I did an interview, I remember we said television about AI, talking about AI and the potential. And then I was reading the comment. So some of them think that AI is taking your brain and adding another artificial brain here to you to help you think better. They don't think it as an independent, and I'm like, okay, you guys. So there's that, like, people, like, awareness is a bit this issue. So some people can really tie AI with an issue, like we're trying to like modify ourselves with artificial, or trying to create some human being and some. Yeah, I mean, Tanzania is not like that religious, but there's like really religious concept, and then sometimes tied to AI, which can be now, I think, an awareness issue. Like, hey guys, this is AI, and it could help you, and this. Yeah. So maybe some sort of that is a bit of an issue for a normal person, but for developer communities, I think they're very, very optimistic and very eager to embrace it.
Yeah, I mean, AI is kind of the wrong word these days, like artificial. It should really be machine intelligence, MI, or
something,
or NI, network intelligence, because it's not artificial. It's absolutely real. It's just, the artificial comes from this kind of origin, which is like all intelligence is human. And so when all intelligence is not human, it becomes artificial intelligence, right? Or it's not real intelligence because it's not human intelligence. Well, I'm sorry, but network intelligence is real. And it's, maybe we should start talking about NI.
Okay, I'm going to start using it
Okay, I'll do it too.
That'll be fun. We'll watch the ripple effect as it becomes a trend.
Born in Zanzibar.
Yeah, started at COP28.
We will. But done. But, it's true, right? And we have to, one of the things I'm so fascinated by is just this such important value of language. Like one of the things when Kristof and I were starting to get to know each other, Kristof talks about marketing in a very different way than I talk about marketing. I think we have a totally different idea of what the word marketing means, the two of us. And it took me like 2 days to understand what Kristof means when he says marketing versus what I think when I hear the word marketing. And when I finally understood that difference, about 42 things about ThreeFold suddenly made a lot more sense. I think we really underestimate, even when you speak English as a first or second language or third language, doesn't matter. We all have like these inherent biases around certain words based on our own individual, like evolutionary experience. And we really underestimate how much difference there is between a person's understanding of the same word based on their experience. It was one of my kind of insights from this week. We have to be really careful about what we mean and the words that we choose, because people don't often understand, because their experience of that word is different than our experience of that word. And being able to create technology and partnerships even that take that into account, I think is super important.
That's great perspective. I'm really glad that that got clear between you two. Yeah, language is important. What brings you hope?
Oh, many things. Humans, people. I see so many things changing so fast now. And especially I'm so grateful to be in Africa now, where it's like so many things are still happening. If people can let away of their fear and stop thinking as Mother Earth as this place where we need to extract from, then the most beautiful things are going to happen in the next 10, 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think just the youth and the other startups that we've met here of what young people are creating. I saw like 5, I go to conferences with like 1,000 people and I walk away with like nothing. I have like 5 amazing projects that I've seen here that I want to help or want to support or be involved in, because I think really is this new generation that's growing up in Africa. It reminds me a little bit of like the Russian generation that grew up after the fall of the wall. So, Russia does not get enough credit for the amazing diaspora of incredible Russians that came out of in just Eastern Europe generally, that came out of the fall of the wall. In the 90s and the early 2000s, their parents immigrated and did things, but their kids have now created this like very sophisticated diaspora around the world of people doing amazing things. Russians don't get nearly enough credit for how incredibly global and awesome they are. And I think in Africa, there's this generation of youth who've grown up now with the internet who are coming into their 20s, and they're going to be such an amazing, creative, and incredibly cool force. Just like, I mean, even your hair is like the best hair I've seen. But like, there's such a vibrancy to that. The other thing that gives me hope is, last night we went on this boat, and when we got off the boat at the pier, there were all these crabs swimming in the water, and I've never seen crabs swimming in water. They're having a little crab party in the bay. And I was like, wow, there's like biodiversity here, and there's fish, and there's crabs, and there's nature, and there's trees, and there's papayas. And there's something really valuable about that in the context of tech development. I think developing tech in nature is something that we need to prioritize so much more, because you look at those crabs and you see them interacting, and there's an algorithm to that. And I found myself thinking, like, what is this crab?
A network intelligence.
Yeah. What is this crab algorithm? And just being able to see that got me thinking about something that I never thought about. And I think that being in nature and developing tech should be like a priority for every tech company, because you get insights that are different and unique that you don't get in a city. That could be the power of a place like Zanzibar.
For me, give me hope. I think when I look at the future, I think I like it, and then I think I'm in a position to like really do something that can make it better. So I mean, sometimes you feel like powerless, and then these things happening, you're like, okay, that's how they are. But when you're in a position now, you say, okay, I can move this one piece and can make the things much better, and then over time we can bring some more to people to this. Push this another bigger piece and then make it. So I see that future, and then I was like, okay, I think we can do it, and then that's really pushed me to really keep doing what I'm doing.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
I'm Tate Chamberlin. This is the Hatch Podcast. We're co-producing it with ThreeFold and the Hub Culture Chronicles in Zanzibar. Holy cow. Kristof, thanks for hosting. Stan, Kalebu, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Asante.
Asante.
Sad. That's a good way to end the podcast.
Depending on your perspective, it's the stuff of science fiction-fueled dreams or nightmares, as tech communities, private companies, and countries hurtle headlong into a future admired in a wealth of outcomes so expansive in scope and as drastically divergent as life and death. Humanity finds itself in a precarious and arguably perilous position. Will we finally find utopia, pop pills in the matrix, or relinquish dominion to a creation of our own undoing? AI, or perhaps as Stalnaker, Gwalugano, and De Spiegeleer more aptly define it, MI, or machine intelligence, has the capacity to solve social, political, environmental, and financial problems at breakneck speeds, to free humanity from the shackles of 9-to-5 servitude and financial inequity once and for all, to offer a bright new future defined by freedom, possibility, and hope. Or a dystopian story we've all read, and so have they, in which the logical choice is the disposal of a race that can't seem to get over itself, that can't seem to have nice things, that can't seem to stop its blind raising of a planet and all the creatures on it in pursuit of some self it never quite knows how to realize. If cold, mechanized logic drives, we might be forced to reconcile ourselves with one virtually unavoidable conclusion. We are, in fact, the problem. And there's a simple solution.
It seems now more than ever that we have found ourselves on the cusp of monumental worldwide change. Whether we consider the environment, politics, infrastructure, health, economics, or inequities across a broad swath of social constructs, the consensus is clear and urgent. All is not as it should be. The United Nations, a consortium of 193 member states from around the globe, agrees. In 2015, the UN unanimously adopted the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. These goals call for urgent action and global partnership to secure peace and prosperity for people and the planet, now and into the future.
In alignment with the SDGs, Hatch, a curated network of artists, activists, and entrepreneurs working together to accelerate positive global change, has partnered with Am Interchange to fuse adventure journalism with experiential design labs to develop innovative solutions to complex global challenges. Hey everybody, thanks for listening to the podcast. If you enjoy it, please subscribe or leave us a rating. This episode was produced by Yara Craner, Susan Karstensen, and me, Tate Chamberlin. A shout out to our media and production team, Jessica Byerly, Darko Sevilla, Raymond Ansodagi, Kevin Hilton, and Mark Groner. A special thanks to Yara Craner, Anya Bulis, Jared Silverman, Pete Strom, Eitan Shapira, and Rachel Hicks. With so much gratitude to the Hatch supporters, Steelcase, the Kauffman Foundation, the Gwydion Fund, Envision Equality, the Hatch volunteers, board of directors, Hatch guardians, and the community who help make this work and mission possible. To learn more about Hatch, visit hatchexperience.org. Building community could not happen without food. And with that, I'd like to thank Whistle Pig Korean, Red Tractor Pizza, and Zocalo Coffee House. Do you have an issue that's riddled by gridlock in your community? Shoot me an email at tate@iaminterchange.org. That's tate@iaminterchange.org. Remember, share airtime and don't ruin dinner.